All right, so here it is. This is the last lesson in the speaking section of the TOEFL Excellence Training System. So let's get to it. Now, this is the lecture summary task. So you might have noticed if you've been watching these videos throughout the course that at some point the titles of the speaking section tasks changed. Well, that's because the production of this course was started before the major changes that the makers of the exam did to the TOEFL, and it's being finished just after the changes went into effect. So you'll notice that the names of the different tasks in the speaking section has changed, but the actual things that you have to do have not changed. The only thing I did was to take out the parts that said integrated task 1, task 2, because one of the independent tasks was eliminated, and also the problem and solution task, the integrated task, which used to be task number 5, that was eliminated. So the final task, which used to be task number 6, is now task number 4. It's the lecture summary. The content of these tasks is still exactly the same. It's just the order is a little bit different. So anyways, this is the last one, the lecture summary task. Now, what you may have noticed from reading the last page is that I said that this particular task, the way that you do it, and this is the master skills that you will not see in any other textbook or training program, at least none that I've seen, and I've seen, I think, all of them, that this task is done almost exactly the same as the combining information task, or what used to be called speaking question 4. So anyways, the difference between these two is that in the combining information task, you had a reading passage which introduced the topic, and there is some extra information here. Now, in the lecture summary, all of this extra information that is written in the task here is similar to what would be spoken about in the very first portion of the audio file. So you'll notice that with this one, she actually mentioned what the actual topic is immediately, and then talked about the two different ways that this happens. But then she also spoke about some other information which was not really necessary for the notes. That's basically the same as some of this extra information here. Now, out of here, they talk about social interaction, but that's not the topic. And then we finally get through reading all this and then realize that the topic is audience effects, and then they give some more information. So in the combining information one, they give you a topic and they briefly define it. In the lecture summary, she will speak, or not she, it could be a man speaking, but they will have some conversation in the beginning before they get to speaking about the different subtopics. But you're basically doing the same thing. You listen for what was the topic and explanation here, and in the lecture summary, you're doing the same thing. The only difference is you have to listen for it instead of reading a text for it. But it's exactly the same. They give you a topic, which is the main idea. They give you either a definition or an explanation, and then they break it down into two different categories. The only difference is that you have to listen for it. So in the beginning, they might talk about some things which is non-essential information. You just have to keep listening, pay attention, write your notes down. You might write down some information on your notes and then find out, just like you did with this little reading passage, that some of this information is not necessary, so you can cross it off your notes later or just, ignore it. So you just have to keep on taking your notes. Listen for that same information that you would have gotten in this reading passage. And then with the combining information task, you had to have a transitional phrase to go from the information from the reading to the information from the audio file. Here, you don't necessarily need to have that different transitional phrase, but you use a lot of the same types of phrases. So when you're giving your response, as I say here, you mention the main topic or idea. Like they're not going to be giving you a definition. They'll probably give you some sort of an explanation. But it's essentially the same thing. And then with the transition phrase, instead of saying in the audio file, we learned that, you would still be doing the same thing, because the speaker, when they're talking about the subject, they're going to be giving more information with the subtopics or the supporting details. They could be giving examples of the topic with those supporting details, or they could be using some subtopics to talk about why the main idea is not true or why they disagree with the main idea. So essentially the structure is exactly the same. It's just the information is slightly different. So basically by the time you get to this final task, you have already done everything that you have to do with this one before. So it's not anything new, it's not anything different, and you don't have to have different skills to do this task because you've already done it with the combining information task, and you've already experienced these types of lectures before in the listening section. And if you remember from the reading section, the reading passages that you read are essentially the same style as the lecture that you're going to listen to here. So you're just repeating all of the same skills that you've done before, and you'll see once we get into the writing section that with those tasks, you're going to do the same thing again. You're going to be using the same skills that you've already done. You're just going to use them in the written form instead of the speaking form. And so that's really it. Just follow the strategy that we've outlined already. Make sure you take good notes so that you can use those to formulate your response, and then just follow the same structure that you've done before, and really that's it. So just remember to practice, practice, practice. Use all of the examples that we give in this course here, and we will certainly be posting more as additional links in the courses and probably on the blog as well. You've done it. You've finished the speaking section, at least in the TOEFL Excellence course. So in the next lesson, we're going to be talking about the writing section, and we'll see you there. Have an excellent day.